She nearly froze on Christmas Eve, the wind cutting across the Wyoming plains like a blade, her thin coat no match for the merciless storm that swallowed the road behind her. Each step sinking into snow so deep it felt like the earth itself was trying to pull her under, and by the time she saw the faint glow of a ranch house in the distance, her lips were blue and her legs were shaking. But she kept walking because stopping meant death, and when she finally reached the porch, she collapsed against the door and knocked with the last strength she had, not knowing if anyone would answer, not knowing if this was salvation or just another cruel illusion, until the door opened and a tall, broad-shouldered man stood there, his face hardened by years of wind and work, eyes sharp but startled to see a woman half frozen on his doorstep on Christmas Eve. And before he could ask a single question, she whispered the words that had been burning in her chest all night. "Please, let me stay. I'll be your wife." And the silence that followed was heavier than the storm itself, because Ethan Cole had lived alone on that ranch for 7 years, since the accident that took his brother and left him raising cattle and ghosts, and he had sworn never to bring trouble into his life again. Yet here it was, shivering, desperate, and undeniably human, and though his instincts screamed to shut the door, he saw something in her eyes that stopped him. Not manipulation, not calculation, but raw fear mixed with hope, the kind that only comes when a person has nowhere left to run. So he pulled her inside without a word, the warmth of the fire hitting her like a wave as her body finally gave in, and she collapsed onto the floor. And he wrapped her in a blanket and set water to boil, working on muscle memory, while his mind raced with questions he refused to ask yet, because first she had to live. And as the hours passed and the storm howled outside, she slowly came back to herself, introducing herself as Clara, her voice trembling not from cold now, but from the weight of the lie she had told. Because she hadn't come looking for a husband. She had come running from a past that would have destroyed her if it caught up. A past filled with broken promises, debts she didn't create, and a man who believed she belonged to him. And Ethan listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable, until she finished and finally looked up at him, ready to be thrown back into the snow. But instead, he said quietly that the nearest town was miles away, and the roads were closed, and no one left his ranch during a blizzard, wife or not. And the way he said it made her chest ache with relief and guilt all at once, because she knew she was asking for more than shelter. She was asking for protection, and over the next days, as the storm trapped them together, something unexpected happened. Not romance at first, but routine. Shared meals, quiet mornings, the sound of boots on wooden floors, the way Ethan checked the fences at dawn, and how Clara insisted on helping, despite never having worked a ranch in her life. And little by little the walls between them thinned. She learned about his brother and the accident and the loneliness that followed. And he learned about the city life she'd escaped and how she'd always dreamed of quiet places like this, but never thought she'd earn one honestly. And when the town sheriff eventually arrived after the storm passed, Clara's heart nearly stopped because she was sure it was over. But Ethan surprised them both by introducing her as his wife, his voice steady, his hand resting on her shoulder like it belonged there. And the lie became something heavier, something dangerous, because once spoken aloud, it began to feel real. And the sheriff left with a nod and a warning about winter roads. And when the door closed, Clara finally asked why he did it. And Ethan answered that he didn't know. Maybe because he saw how scared she was. Or maybe because the ranch had been too quiet for too long. Or maybe because for the first time in years, he felt needed. And that night neither of them slept. Not because of desire, but because of the realization that pretending had consequences. Especially when pretending started to heal wounds. Neither of them had admitted were still open. And days turned into weeks, and the arrangement became known in town. Curious looks and polite congratulations following them whenever they ventured out. And Clara worked harder than she ever had in her life, determined to earn her place, even if it was built on a lie. While Ethan found himself smiling more, laughing occasionally, and realizing that the silence he once clung to had been slowly killing him. And just when it seemed they might turn the lie into something real, the past arrived in the form of a black car on the long dirt road. The man Clara had fled stepping out with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, claiming she owed him and that no rancher's ring could change that. And fear returned sharper than the cold ever. But this time Clara didn't run. She stood beside Ethan and told the truth. All of it, to the sheriff, to the town, to herself. And when the man was finally escorted away in handcuffs, exposed for the fraud he was, Clara expected Ethan to walk away, because now he knew everything and owed her nothing. But instead he took her hand and said the words she never thought she'd hear. That the lie had ended, but the choice remained. And if she wanted to stay, truly stay, then this time it would be real. No bargains, no desperation, just two people choosing each other after the storm. And as Christmas came again the following year, the ranch glowed with light and laughter. The cold still fierce outside, but powerless against what they had built. Because sometimes salvation doesn't come in the form you expect. Sometimes it opens a door on the coldest night of the year and asks you to be brave enough to step inside.